Hello, 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 everyone. Thank you for all being here. And thank you for being so patient. Can you guys hear me? Give me a thumbs up. Let me know. Tell me yes. Say something. Matthew, how are you, man?
Good, and yourself?
Great, man. Great day today. Productive. It's always a good day when you're productive, isn't it? Just letting everyone in. I think we're gonna have a really big crowd tonight, guys. Seems to be. How are you guys doing? Victor, how are you?
Good, Dan. How are you?
As always,
Ready to rock.
yeah. Tommy, how are you? Thank you for being here, Tommy.
Of course, I'm great. How you doing? Ready to rock. I'm feeling like Victor's feeling. I like it.
Yeah.
Hi, Dan.
How are you, Candy? How you been?
I've been good. Busy. I'm glad I was be able to catch this one tonight.
So am I. This is going to be an exciting one tonight. Tommy's bringing his A game. Tommy's, essentially, guys, I'm always trying to bring you value, right? But it's so hard to find that one person who could put it all together for you, because you guys, you have it in bits and pieces. And I went through that too. But if I was able to find something that I could start my business under one house, oh my God, how much easier that would have made my life. And I would have been so much more productive doing what I do best rather than trying to spend the time organizing. And that's what Tommy's going to do for us all tonight, actually. So, guys, we're going to just take a couple of minutes because I'm expecting more people. I know there's some new people here now. Dana, how are you? You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, guys. I'm Dana, and I work with David.
Oh, lucky you.
I know, right?
He is very lucky, luckier than all of you know.
He's the lucky one, actually.
I believe you with that.
That's true, too.
Yeah.
I believe you with that. Anyone else want to introduce yourselves?
Oh, there's somebody.
Please do. I know there's a few new faces here. Please introduce yourselves.
Is David hiring?
There he is, Mr. Mustafa.
Mustafa, how are you?
Good, brother. Good. How you guys been?
Good, man.
Mustafa, we're branching out to Milwaukee, Wisconsin over there.
Hey,
So
I
I'm
can't
looking
wait.
to hire your whole team.
I can't wait, baby. Come on. Did you switch yet?
No, when I do, you'll be the first I call.
Let me know. All right, I'll be here listening for you.
Cindy, how are you doing? It's been a while since I've seen you.
Good. Yeah. Hey, Dan, how's everything?
Good, no complaints.
I just saw the post, so I was like, oh.
Okay, good.
So it
That
worked,
means-
right, Cindy?
That means it's working.
Yeah.
That means it's working. Nelson, how are you, brother?
Good, man. Happy to be here. Happy to see you guys again.
Guys, I see a lot of new faces and new names here. Please introduce yourselves.
Hey, I'm Holmes. I'm trying to get my camera to work, but it won't. I'm in the Austin, Texas area. Just jumped on. I'm glad that I'm able to be here and to meet everyone.
So am I. And how'd you hear about us?
So I purchased your lease agreement and something else. I just purchased a duplex in the Waco area near Chip and Joanna's compound for $90K, 2 doors, and I'm trying to rehab that to cash flow it.
Congratulations, man. Congratulations. I hope the lease helped you.
I think it will. I think I'm going to try to get it leased out at some point when we're done rehabbing. I'm an educator by day, so I'm trying to use this as another stream of income.
I love it. So you're leveraging your job and you're increasing your retirement fund. Right?
Absolutely.
Love it. Love it. Anyone else new here?
Danny,
Please.
can you give me access to the back end, please?
Yeah.
Can I introduce myself? Because it's my first time to the meeting.
Yes, that's what we're here for. Please do.
I like to say first, thank you for the invite. I'm looking forward to this.
Oh, Joseph, how are you?
Good, good. You doing?
You know, as he's speaking, I'm like, I know that voice.
So,
Dave, how are you, Dave? I met you once or twice.
Yes, how you doing?
so for those of you that don't know, Joseph, where are you? I'd love for you to come on, put your screen on.
Oh, I don't know. Is my screen on? I think it is.
Yeah, it's on. He's on.
It's on. I see you. I can see everybody.
So Joseph, you know, there's a book I read years ago, The Richest Barber. I think it's called The Richest Barber. And everybody went to this barber in town, and for the new people, they thought he was just a barber. Well, the barber was the richest man in town because he would use his chair to get all the insight about, you know, what was going on in town. But the barber also took the time out and read a lot of books, like The Richest Man in Babylon, for instance, to understand how to create wealth. Well, Joseph is my barber, and he actually teaches me how to create wealth with some of the knowledge that he spills upon me when I'm sitting in his chair. So thank you for being here, Joseph.
Oh, Danny, you're way too generous with your words. Thank you. I think I learned a lot more from you. And actually, guys, my first condo I purchased was from that deal that I took used to.
Yep.
Remember?
Yep.
It was on Jamie Court, and that
Yes,
was the first time I met your brother, actually, Dave.
So did you buy that condo?
I did buy the condo, yeah.
Look
I
at
let
this
you guys
guy.
do all the negotiating.
So
and then I got-
basically, you took us there to teach you what to do, say, and fix.
He pointed everything out to you, and then you took the deal for yourself, is what you did, right, Joseph?
well, yeah, you didn't want at the time. I don't know, something went, you were not happy with it. So I said, all right, these guys negotiated. They beat the other agent up. I said, let me take it for myself now.
Hey, Dan, you bought his book as well. He's actually the richest barber in town.
He is. So Joseph, but I really seriously, tell people, you know, not only you a barber, but who you work with and what you've purchased in real estate as a result of being in that barbershop.
I got my real estate license. From there, I met a bunch of people and I learned. You know, first I was showing houses, and then I started to work for myself and just to find deals. You know, and listen, I learned a lot from you, Danny, a lot. Almost
Thank you.
the majority of everything I know, we go back and forth, and I really have learned and I absorbed a lot from you. And I just put my money into real estate and I made it work. A few condos. We own the barbershop, the building there, which is mixed use. Then we own another location on the block, which is a mixed use location. And you know, my house as well, and some stocks.
You see, guys, so, you know, it doesn't happen overnight, and I'm
No.
constantly preaching that, right? Somebody said to me, so, you know, how lucky I was, and I was like, yeah, I'm so lucky. It was a 35-year overnight success, you know? So, and it's the same thing with Joseph, right? You know, he put in the work, he put in the time, and lived below his means to make it happen.
And Danny, some of it is partnerships with my brother as well.
Right.
So I have a younger brother who's he's a barber as well, and we purchased some properties together because it makes it easier when you have a partnership.
There you go, guys.
So Joseph, you're not the only one that has done that. So Dana, that is part of my team, explaining to her a deal that I'm gonna, you know, probably pick up for ourselves. And she's like, well, when are you gonna get me one? Actually, I don't know if Vicky's on here, but Vicky was another client of mine. I sold her house and she ends up finding, you know, out everything else we do. And I sold the condo to her. So Dana sees the condo because I put, hey, you know, Vicky finally took the step for investment. She's like, what about me? So Dana comes and steals the condo from me. Well, not stole it, but you know.
Yes, you
Oh my
did.
God, I did not steal it.
I
I
could
was
tell
like,
you
all right, all right.
You
all
told me
right.
about it.
that first deal that I got, that condo, which, you know what? It's one thing to be a real estate agent. It's another thing to look at things as an investor. And I'll never forget that day you came, your brother had the yellow pad. You guys were measuring everything out, writing things down, and that really opened up my eyes. And then I was privileged to see an email from Danny that he sent to the board the HOA.
Uh-huh.
And he had all these questions, and he asked, and it never struck me to think of it because we sold a bunch of condos, but he asked them, what are the reserves? How many people are delinquent? What's the condition? How many people are non-payment? How many people rent? What's the ratio? And I never thought to ask those questions. I never saw an email break it down question by question by question. And of course, I printed that email out and I kept it for myself. Now I use it all the time.
Actually,
But that-
Cindy has bought a lot of condos as well.
Oh, yeah.
You want to talk about those, Cindy, or am I putting you in a spot while we're waiting for other people to join us? If you don't
Well, I
want.
wouldn't say a lot, but I bought a few, I guess. Working with David.
Cindy, you're
and-
double digits. You bought a lot.
That's a lot. That sounds like a lot.
Well, I've been doing investing for quite a while, but going in and getting outside my well, I always had wanted to invest in Florida, and David and Dan provided that avenue to be able to do that. One of my hesitancies before actually coming out of grad school, I actually went out there, but I still remember when my dad was alive saying, yeah, but you have to worry about being able to manage and how are you going to handle that from a distance? And working with David and Dan totally, took that out of the equation. They had great connections. Basically hand walked me and guided me through it. Whenever, if there is a problem, I know I can turn and make a phone call. But a lot of their connections are actually now my connections. So I can just kind of just go right, directly to them without bothering Dan or David and saying, can you help me? But, there are still times being able to do that. So it's great when you have the right network because it kind of opens up other doors. So that opened up a whole different area for me. Looking to go back more, having kids getting older now. So I'm, trying to see what else I can kind of do. But thanks to Dan and David for everything.
Oh, I appreciate
welcome.
that. I appreciate that so much, Cindy, for you putting your trust into us, and you too as well, Joseph and Dana, and there's other people here like Nelson and Hireman and Nick. Chris is here. I mean, there's so many people here that have put their trust in us, and I really appreciate that. But having said that, let's get this going because Tommy's got, his time is actually extremely valuable, and I don't want to impose any more upon him. But let's just get legal out of the way. For those of you that are here, you understand that this is all going to be used for promotional and educational purposes. So if you're on this Zoom, you understand that, again, this is going to be used for promotional and educational purposes. Having said that, I'd love to let's start this out. Hi, this is Dan Borrero, USA Land Ventures, bringing to you another night where we do our free mentorship class, where my brother David and I bring this to the forefront. Why? Because we can and we want. We're finally in a position that we could do this after being real estate investors since 1989. And as all of you know, we're constantly trying to bring you different value every single Wednesday night, but with a different subject matter. This is, if I'm not mistaken, David, this is number 65, right? That we've done so far.
You know what? I'll take that as the number, but
Okay.
it's a lot.
Right. And when last month, when I came back from that Heroes Conference in Jacksonville, I had explained to everyone that, I made a lot of connections, that I was extremely impressed with a lot of people. And the reason David and I spent all this, ridiculous amount of money to go to these conferences is because, as Chris Haskins is always saying, we want to buy our friends, right? So essentially, you go to these conferences, and like Chris Haskins and I, we are great friends. But where do we meet? We met at the Vote conference that we spent almost $20,000 to go to because we bought VIP tickets in 2019, and so did he. So we bought our friendship by going to these conferences. And at these conferences, we meet all these people that actually bring not only additional value, but different concepts, right? And different ways of doing business. And that opens up our avenue. And the best part about that, I think, and what I'm loving most about our mentorship class here is that you guys are constantly chatting with each other. I know a couple of you guys have already hooked up and networked together and actually put a couple of deals together. So I'm loving this because that's what it's all about. Exchange information with each other. You never know, we're not sitting next to each other, but we've gotten so sophisticated and so accustomed to Zoom meetings that it's not challenging anymore to introduce yourself to anyone at the meeting. So please do that. All right. Having said that, I want to welcome Tommy. Tommy is the president of Prime Corp Services. Essentially, you could get everything done if you want to organize your company. And if you have an existing company, you still want to talk to Tommy's staff to evaluate whether it's structured properly, to take advantage, most especially of tax implications. We've had multiple guests on talking about tax implications. The other thing that Tommy company also does is they advise on how to repair not only your personal credit, but also how to get your business credit up and going so that when you do go for a loan and you do go for financing, not only is your documentation properly prepared for your LLC or your S Corp or your C Corp or your proprietorship, whatever which way is good for you, because we're all in a different situation, but you're also going to have the credit to go get those loans as well. That's what Tommy's company does. And I'm so excited to bring him here because he's able to put everything under one umbrella for everybody and organize you from day one to get you started the right way, whether it be with a Delaware LLC, whether it be with a New York LLC, because again, everyone's different, right? So that's why, at the end, he agreed to give us a one-on-one consultation with you all. We're going to provide a link where you guys could actually schedule a date and a time to have that one-on-one consultation. It will not be with Tommy. It will be with somebody that Tommy's staff has trained. And that way they could actually guide you in the right direction. And I strongly advise that you do that, whether you have a company, you don't have a company, because they'll be able to open up your eyes to maybe if you have a company now, structuring it a little differently so that you could take advantage of better tax savings. Having said that, Tommy, thank you again. Please introduce yourself.
And David, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. It's late. Everyone's here spending time. I appreciate everyone making the time to be here. I'm liking this. I'm liking this energy. Usually we jump on and it's like, all right, Tommy, take it over. I don't want to do anything, but getting some wins out of the way and feels good. I like that. I love the energy so far. So
I appreciate that, Tommy.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Yeah, my name's Tommy Thornburg. I'm actually the president here at Prime Corporate Services. And a little bit about me, a little bit about Prime. I've been self-employed since I was 18 years old. My mom was a real estate agent and my dad owned a real estate brokerage. And they talked trash to me my whole life saying I better be self-employed. So here we are. It ended up working. When I was 18, I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah. I drove from Salt Lake to North Carolina and I knocked door to door selling pest control. That was my first self-employment job. And 18 years old, in 3 months, I made about $40,000. And I came home and I was king of the castle. I'm telling you what, 40,000, mom and dad couldn't tell me nothing. Then tax time rolled around and Uncle Sam wanted 10 grand. And I said, that 10 grand's gone, Uncle Sam. I don't know what to tell you. And ever since, I realized how few resources there are for people out there to help startup entrepreneurs, solopreneurs understand the legal and the financial side of the business. So we started Prime Corporate a couple years after that. We've been in business for about 10 years now. And we have helped over 100,000 entrepreneurs structure their business at this point. So online businesses, stock investors, the majority of what we do is in the real estate realm. But I'm excited to be here. I appreciate everyone having me. I've got some slides I'm going to run through to keep me on track so I don't turn into the squirrel here. If anyone has questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. Dan, David, if you want to cut me off and add anything or Anything?
I'll keep track of the questions as we go along, and I'll drop them in for you and give them to you as necessary.
Thank you. I need that. I appreciate that. It is not about how much money you make. It is all about how much money you keep in your corner, right?
You
And
say, please, Tommy, say that again. I'm always preaching that. Say that
everyone,
again.
if you make 100,000 in my state, right? I made 40,000. I had to give 10 back. I did not make 40. I made 30. So there are so many strategies. I could have kept that 10,000 in my corner. It is not what you make, it's what you keep, right? There's how many people in the real estate, there's probably everyone on this call that said, oh my gosh, the Feds just raised the interest rates again. What's going to happen with the real estate market? Everyone's doomed. It's a game of percentages. We're talking about 1% in interest rate. God forbid we can save 1, 2, 3, 10% in taxes. It's a game of percentages. It's a game of points. And hopefully from a tax standpoint, we can help in that area. Key takeaways. My goal is everyone learns one thing that they didn't know that will impact their business over the next 45 minutes. If you don't learn one thing, please talk trash at the end of the presentation because I want to hear it. But number one, different types of entities, right? When should I set up my entity? One of the most common questions we get is, Tommy, should I wait till I locate my first property? Tommy, should I wait till I close my first deal? I want to talk to you about the way that you can progress, crawl before you walk, walk before you run. Let's make sure you're protected. Let's make sure you have the tax benefits. And let's make sure you're showing yourself as a legitimate business, not only to your clientele, but to banks and lenders as well. Okay, that's number one. Number two, what in the world's a tax deduction? How do they work? And what deductions do I qualify for as a home-based real estate investor? Okay. Number three, asset protection and generational wealth. Last but not least, the crowd favorite. How can I use other people's money? How do we build business credit and corporate funding to get away from always having to use personal funds or personal credit? Okay. So I'm just out of curiosity here, if you don't mind throwing in the chat for me as well, throw maybe a 1 in the chat if you already have an LLC or an S Corp. We got quite a few people on here. I want to see, I hope everyone has an LLC or an S Corp or some sort of business entity in place. There we go. I'm assuming you've brought this up, right? This is something.
Yep, absolutely.
Dan, David, you guys preach making sure you're protected and structured, right?
Yeah, that's huge.
Good. A lot of LLCs. Cool. Okay, let's do it. The most exciting part. This is what everyone came for. I am not a CPA or an attorney. I do have a full team of accountants and CPAs. I do have a full team of attorneys. One, I like doing these. I think they're fun. Two, I like coming to you as an entrepreneur and an investor myself. Like I said, I've been self-employed since I was 18. I've noticed when I have the accountants and the CPAs on here, they tell you everything that you can't do. That's not overly exciting for me. So I want to come on here. I want to tell you some things that have worked for me. I want to tell you some things that have worked for the 100,000 plus entrepreneurs we've worked with, and how you can actually protect yourself and give yourself tax benefits. Business structures. Easiest way for me to break this down is informal versus formal. I truly believe everybody in America should be self-employed to some extent. Side hustle, full-time investor, totally self-employed as a whole. Why do I say that? There are 72,000 pages of a tax code, and the majority are for those that are self-employed. So even if you have a W-2 income, even if you are already employed and you're just getting started, there are so many tax benefits to take advantage of by having some sort of a side hustle, right? My daughter's 1.5 and my wife's getting sick of me, but I'm telling her as soon as she can say lemonade, we're throwing a lemonade stand together. we're structuring it as a business, and we're going, I hated my parents for it, but here we are. My daughter's going through the same training. It's all I know. So from an informal structure standpoint, a lot of times when people first get started, sole proprietorship, general partnership, it sounds like a lot of you are already structured, so I'm not going to hit on that, but I don't recommend that for two reasons. One, there is no asset protection. Two, there are limited tax benefits. All the IRS wants to know is that you are showing the intent to treat and operate as a business. If you're here at 8 o'clock to listen to me talk about something as boring as asset protection and taxes, you have the intent to be a business owner. That's clear as day. So for those of you that are already structured, great. Like Dan said, we're going to offer a free one-on-one consultation for everybody. If you want us to review how you're structured, we're happy to do that. When you're first getting started, we oftentimes recommend an LLC. Crawl before you walk before you run. Give yourself the protection, allow yourself the ability to take the startup deductions. Now, once you're making $50,000 to $100,000 or more, that's when our accountants and CPAs will start to look at your profit and loss and say, you know what, it probably makes sense for you to start switching this LLC into an S corporation, or make sure that LLC is taxed as an S corporation. Okay. Why would we want to do that? The $50,000 to $100,000 mark makes it easy to justify paying yourself a reasonable salary or distribution. We got to make enough to justify that. We got to make sure that, hey, I made $100,000 and I distributed to myself $40,000 throughout the year, whatever that looks like for your situation. Like Dan said, everyone's situation is different, right? But what that also does is it allows me to avoid paying half of my self-employment tax, which is Medicare and Social Security. Okay, that alone can save me 7 to 8% on that overall income on active or ordinary income. Right? We got people losing.
If you don't mind, Tommy, can you go back and elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because right now, guys, we have a lot of self-employed people here. Realtors are self-employed. There's a lot of realtors here. Can you please explain that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, realtors are a perfect example. I can't tell you how many Uber and Lyft drivers, they'll call me on a Monday, say, hey, you said you'd set up my LLC. I said, well, I had a couple beers, but I'm sure I told you I would. So let's do it. But the LLC, the beauty of being a real estate agent, the beauty of being a 1099 contractor in general. We do a lot of business with insurance agents, real estate agents. You are self-employed. You are getting paid as a 1099. So if I'm a real estate agent, for sake of conversation, and I make $100,000, and that's getting paid to my name and my social, I'm taxed at the highest rate. That's ordinary income. That's active income. If I had my brokerage paying through a business name and an EIN number through either an LLC taxed as an S corp or an S corp, I could have paid myself a salary or a distribution. I could have written off my signs, my open houses, my phone, my internet. I'll talk more about the taxes here shortly to offset that taxable income. But that S corp allowed me to avoid half the self-employment going back to Medicare and Social Security. So on that 100,000, I could have potentially saved 7,000 right off the top. Right? Going back to my stupid 18-year-old example I keep talking about, if I knew that and had that S corp, I could have still justified a reasonable salary. And on the 10,000 I would have paid, I would have saved $4,000 right off the top.
So what you're saying is you would say 50,000 is salary, the other 50,000, and you're going to try to write off the other 50, or you're going to say that's a distribution?
Yeah, so the salary or the distribution, the IRS looks at it and they say it has to be reasonable, right? So if I make 100,000, I can't say that I lived off of 10. You can if you truly can justify it and show it, but we got to have that alibi. We don't want to raise a red flag with the IRS. We want to make sure that the books are in a row. So a general rule of thumb, Dan, is 40 to 60% of the total gross income is usually a realistic number for that salary or distribution.
There you go, guys.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's for me and Dan and, you know, anyone that do have these corporations set up for you, you know, a lot of people don't want to do it because of the hassle of doing it and setting it up and having your accountant take care of it for you. But at the end of the day, everything your accountant does, all the costs involved in setting it up, paying your accountant, and everything involved is a write-off, right? So if you don't utilize the money you're having properly, you're going to end up paying. So no matter what you're going to pay, it's going to cost you. You might as well utilize what the government's allowed you to, so therefore you can actually save some money. So at the end, it's all about saving money and paying less taxes. I know some people agree and don't agree with that, but as entrepreneurs, that's commonly what we try to do.
One of the largest expenses any entrepreneur will ever have in their life is taxes, right? One of the biggest headaches any entrepreneur will have in their life is taxes. If you can set it up properly from the very beginning, it makes it easier to grow and scale and keep your books organized. If you're 20 years down the road and everything's still a jumbled mess, our goal here is to make complicated topics as simple as possible. When we train our team, the first day of training, we say, listen, we've got a big 2 weeks ahead of you. It's going to be like drinking through a fire hose. Our goal is to make sure, good or bad, profit or loss, entrepreneurs understand their benefit and their right to write off the ability to startup expenses, organizational expenses. David, you transitioned me like we've been rehearsing and practicing this for the last week. I promise we haven't, but let's talk tax, baby.
All right, I love it, love it. I talk about this all the time in my team meetings with my own agents, right? We work together on this, and I try to explain to them it's not all about, you know, we got our head down, you're grinding, you're trying to make all these deals, trying to make all this money, and at the end, how much of it do you actually keep?
For sure. Yep. And it's funny. Once again, I go back to so many stories from my childhood because they molded me into this. I can't believe I'm talking about asset protection and tax on a daily basis. But it's because there's a need for it in the market, right? A lot of people don't have the means to go out and hire legal counsel and to hire in-house accountants and CPAs. If it can be simplified and it can still be utilized from a tax standpoint, it really is a no-brainer. So everyone that's watching this, if you have an office space, obviously there's other deductions there, but if you are a self-employed, home-based real estate investor, I don't care if that means you're an investor, an agent, a broker, whatever you do, there are over 250 different deductible expenses that qualify within that title, right? A lot of these are bills, phone bill, internet bill, power bill, portions of your rent or your mortgage, right? Dan, David, Cindy, you're the ones that are showing on my screen over here, but it's very obvious you are in a designated home office.
Absolutely.
You are probably writing off the percentage of the square footage based off of the overall home, right?
Correct.
And it makes a massive difference. I joke that when sometimes people ask, what about the landscaping? I said, I wouldn't mow my grass if I couldn't write it off. I don't, people, what, God forbid someone comes to my home office and my lawn isn't mowed. I'm not mowing it, one, and two, it's got to look nice. Absolutely. I'm writing portions of that off. Right. So the list goes on and on of what is doable when you are able to end up really opening up that tax code. So, travel.
I have a question here. Wouldn't saving the 7K be offset by paying the ordinary income tax as an employee that you paid yourself, or an employee, as an employee of your own S Corp?
Yeah, great question. So the self-employment tax is about 15.2%, right? So if you're paying yourself a salary on a W-2 income, the employer has to pay for that other 7.5%. So my goal is I want to take a distribution. I don't necessarily need to have myself on a W-2 salary where I'm paying myself every 2 weeks, 4 weeks. You can do that. But I truly believe I am going to be more responsible with that 7% than the government, right? Some people don't agree with me there, but I'm going to stand pretty strong on that one. I truly believe I'm going to compound my 7% better than the government. I want to put it into my own retirement. I want to invest it into my own business. I would rather throw it off a bridge if I'm being brutally honest, but I want to make that decision, right? David, does that answer it? Is that good?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like it did. That was Joanna Renna. I have a question from Charles Bennett. If you have an actual W-2 income from a 9 to 5 and want to keep more money in the LLC for real estate investing, would taking a smaller salary of let's say 10% be beneficial?
Great. It really is a great question. If you can justify that you're not living off that income in that scenario, Charles, it is doable. Remember, as I mentioned earlier, a reasonable salary is usually going to be 40 to 60%. But if we're keeping money within the entity itself and we're reinvesting those profits back into the business, that is absolutely doable. The money can't just sit there and not be taxed. It's got to work. The money's got to work, or Uncle Sam's going to want his. And that's why so many wealthy, rich individuals invest into real estate. Depreciation, cost segregation. There's really not a better tax vehicle in my eyes that continues to compound wealth. When in fear, zoom out, right? That's the stock saying. From a real estate standpoint, we're at the peak, but if you zoom out, that trajectory continues up and to the right in most cases. So the money's got to work for itself, Charles, but absolutely those are things that are doable.
I'm going to give you one more question, then we can continue on with the slide. Guys, just keep putting your questions into the chat, and then we'll do our best to give them to Tommy. This one comes from Noel. I'm transforming half of my 2-car garage into an office. It's hot as baseballs. Let's keep it there, in Florida. So I'm planning on buying a Mitsubishi split air conditioner. Can I write off the expense all next year when I do my taxes?
You got to make sure that you are designating that as a home office, right? First thing I'll tell you, don't do your own taxes. Have an accountant or a CPA do that to make sure that one, they're telling you what you need to qualify based off the space, but two, in a worst case scenario, if there were to be an audit, we've got to have some sort of an alibi. I don't want to alibi myself. A lot of accountants and CPAs don't file their own taxes. Why? Because it's easier to have someone else file those and fight for you when you naturally have some emotional attachment to your decisions. Is it doable? Absolutely. To answer your question directly, but make sure T's are crossed and I's are dotted so that no red flags are raised.
All right, perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that. Great questions, guys.
Yeah, for sure. Those are great. Those are all great. One other thing that I really like to touch on, there's so many different tax codes that we could talk about, and everyone's situation is different. So I don't want to bore you half to death by reading IRS tax code right now. But what I will tell you, some of the best deductions that we look for on an annual basis to keep things interesting and continuing to bring value to our current clients are new tax codes. The reality is the tax code is a game, right? 72,000 pages, like I mentioned, it's a game and it is meant to impact our behavior. So COVID hits, and what do they say? If you get COVID and you're self-employed and it impacts your business, you get a COVID deduction. Okay, great, that's cool. Assuming you qualify, that's a $5,000 deduction I didn't have last year, I'll take it. They also come out and say restaurants were impacted. So for 2021 and 2022, restaurants are going to go from 50% deductible to 100% tax deductible. That's massive, right? I like to eat. Now I get to go have business meals while I eat, and it's 100% instead of 50. So those things aren't going to last forever. Tax codes are always going to change every year. Make sure you have a team that keeps you aware of what those changes are so that you're not leaving money on the table ultimately, right? Dan, David, any tax stories or anything that has helped you that you would be willing or want to
I
share?
mean, I've actually shared this story. My brother.
We
and
have
I
a
got
story that is treacherous, but.
treacherous. So the first year we made $1 million flipping land.
Awesome.
We paid over $600,000 in taxes.
How'd that feel?
Oh my God. It felt like,
Let's just say we're still pissed off.
yeah. So it felt as if we were punished because we decided to work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. Right? It felt like we got punished because we decided to work. We decided not to be, to work harder than most and sacrifice, because it took a lot of sacrifice to get to that point. But I realized, that my accountant kept telling me during the course of the year that we had to meet more often. My accountant kept telling me during the course of the year, Danny, you're concentrating too much on making money. You're not concentrating on how to save the money. Well, that never happened to us again. I made it a point to actually, because I had my degree in finance, rather business administration, but specialized in finance, I was able to go to my local community college and take continuous ed classes that accountants would have to take to keep their licenses. Back then, we didn't have the internet was just starting off. We didn't have YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. It wasn't as prevalent as it is today. So then what I found was that by me going out there and, talking to other people, talking to other accountants in that class, and as well as sitting there listening to the professor who was teaching it, I was able to come back and challenge my accountant. And sometimes he would say, well, we can't do that because of this, which made sense, right? Because he knows the laws and that's what he does. But maybe we could do it this way. Or sometimes he'd say, yeah, that would work, right? But we may have to change this a little bit on this side, right? So the thing is, guys, one, you got to continuously educate yourself. Two, I'll give you another story. My brother and I sold this lot that we had for 1.6 million. We had an offer for 1.8 million from somebody else, but they wouldn't let me structure the deal on paper the way I needed to structure the deal. And they didn't want to wait the 6 months to close. So I ended up selling that to someone else for $200,000 less. But we walked away with $250,000 more than we would have walked away if I sold it for 1.8, because the second person who I sold it to for less let me structure the deal the way I needed to structure it so I could save money on taxes. So although I sold it for less money, for 200,000 more, we walked away with over $200,000 more than if we had sold it for 1.8. Now, that particular scenario happened after I paid over $600,000 in taxes, because I took the time out to educate myself. So, we got beat up. We got beat up badly, but that never happened to us again, ever.
This all goes back to the fact a lot of people say, hey, what's the first thing I should do? I want to make some investments. I want to do this. I want to do that. What can I possibly do to get to that stage, to get to the next step, to get closer to where I want to get to? And our answer is always the same: educate yourself. Invest in yourself, invest in your education, because had we done what we're advising you to do, we wouldn't have made those mistakes, because we would have been better prepared. So preparation is what allows you to be better than your competitor, right? And your competitor in this, what we're talking about, is the government, right? And how we're going to structure our taxes and structure certain deals that we might be doing to enable us to pay a little less in taxes, or possibly just, let's just call it keeping more money in our pocket. So, I'm always talking to real estate agents predominantly in the field that I'm in. And, you look at all these things, right? And some of these, like my brother says, sometimes we pay, $15,000 to go away for a weekend to a seminar, a summit, right? They're like, wow, that's a lot of money, but it's a write-off. And not only is it a write-off, we're able to bring this information back to you guys at no cost, right? But that's because we're constantly and continuously educating ourselves and trying to make ourselves better in the sense of, how do we become better and make more money, right? But making more money is one objective. Keeping as much money is the main objective.
And I just want to say one other thing, guys. When my brother and I started, there was nobody teaching us this. This didn't exist. Number one. Number two, everything was difficult and everyone kept it close to the chest. And then we go talk to the accountant, and then we have to make another appointment, go talk to my attorney. Then the attorney would disagree with what the accountant said. Then we have to go back and make another appointment. You don't have to do that anymore. Everything's under one umbrella with Tommy's organization.
Well, I mean, honestly, if Tommy's organization was available to us, I mean, there's literally everything you can dream of as far as putting together a business, he does it.
Or
His
even
company.
restructuring the business. By the way, guys, let me say something else. In 2018, and we've discussed this on this platform. It was almost at the end of 2018, we restructured 6 of our companies to take advantage of all the new tax implications, all the new tax laws that came out in 2018. But that was a lot of coordinating.
I
When
mean,
you
look,
have everything under one roof, it's a whole lot less coordinating. And
it doesn't matter if you're new at this game or you're seasoned at this game. You always have to constantly re-educate yourself and see what changes are being made, because changes that are being made on the government standpoint can possibly help you and can possibly hurt you. But you have to, keep that in mind on an annually basis and structure your business accordingly. What you did last year may have worked last year. This year is a different year.
Guys, I've constantly told you guys this too on my lives. I don't give a rat's ass who's the president of the United States. This is not going to affect my bottom line, because I'm gonna make it my business to understand what their policies are, and I'm gonna make it my business to understand what's the likelihood of those policies getting passed. And then I'm gonna strategize, adjust, and adapt. But I refuse to let anyone in DC determine my financial worth.
Hey, Tommy, we have a question here from Hiram. Great question. Can I transfer my personal home into an LLC?
It is a phenomenal question. You ask 100 attorneys, 90 of them are going to tell you no. Trust me, I've asked. I love this question, so thank you for it. I do not recommend it. And the reason that I say that to you, it is your personal home, it's your home quarters. There are some deductions. There's a rule called the Augusta rule, where you can rent out your house up to 14 days tax-free. So I live pretty close to our office space here. And if I have some people over for a barbecue, we're talking strategy, it's business or it's work related, I will rent my house out against my own personal income for a business gathering. And there are some tax strategies around things that are exciting, but it is your personal home. There are ways you can put it within a trust to make sure that you're protected. But usually the investment properties are where you want the LLCs.
Guys, you got to remember something. When you go for dinner, the reason the government's allowing you to write that off is because you're going out with a client, a potential client, and you're discussing business. That is the definition of why they're allowing you to write it off. Just something what Tommy just said, if you missed it, right? He's basically saying if he has a gathering, anyone that's in the businesses that we're in here as far as real estate, I can't tell you any gathering I've ever gone to in the last 30 years that I didn't talk about real estate.
For sure.
There's one thing I always talk to people about, as far as think about you have to put out in the world, and social media has allowed us to do this very easily. When someone looks at you, who are you? What are they looking at? What do they define you as? When people look at me, when people look at my brother, they're like, these are the real estate guys, right? Whatever magnitude of that fits into the world of that individual. Whether we sell real estate, we rent real estate, we build real estate, we talk about real estate, we're all about real estate. So when people look at us, and Dana can attest to this, I say it all the time. When someone sees you, what do they see? For me, it's real estate. And that's whatever it is you do, and whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, you need to make sure that people see you like that. Why do I say that? When you're at a gathering, remember, people don't see you every day, but they see you every day on social media. So when they're able to see you and connect with you in a personal way, what are they going to discuss with you? They're going to discuss exactly how they see you, what the perception is of you. So that's why people are always talking to me about real estate. And that's why no matter where I go, it's a write-off. If I go to dinner, it's a write-off. Why? Because I'm talking about real estate. Is that right, Tommy?
100%. Absolutely.
That's what it's all about.
One-
So when
one-
we have a gathering, it's about real estate.
Yeah, one of the clients I've been working with now for probably the last 5 years or so, he said to me, I prefer working with real estate agents because they're most likely going to bring me multiple deals. I'm sick of going to the one-on-one. Now, obviously, there's a play for all these when it comes to real estate, but it just backs your point, David, of the more people see you out there as to who you are, and the more you're getting in front of your audience, then that trickle effect of he likes talking to realtors because they're going to mention to someone else they have a buyer, right? So the trickle down effect of who are you to other people and how do those other people perceive you to other people? It's multiple layers of how many more opportunities that truly brings you, for sure.
Absolutely. I have a question here from Brittany. Can you fund a retirement account from the profits of an LLC to reduce the tax penalty?
Yeah, there's a lot of different retirement accounts that can help defer a lot of the income that's done. I do that myself. I don't love having the retirement accounts, but if it's going to mean that I'm going to defer that income through SEP IRAs or through certain 401s, I truly believe that I'm in the height. I'm working very, very hard. I'm going to be making more money now than later. I would rather deal with those taxes later from a deferred standpoint. So there are ways to do that. If I'm making more money down the road, that's a good problem to have. I'll deal with that accordingly as well.
There's a question here from Lindsay. Can you explain the difference between filing as an S Corp and being a C Corp with double taxation?
Yes, it is a great question, and it's an extremely complicated question. C corporations are awesome as far as asset protection is concerned. If the money does not flow the way that it needs, you are subject to double taxation. What I mean by that, if you're putting properties into a C corporation and you're paying yourself a salary or a distribution and it is not being tracked, you will be taxed on the business level and the personal level. The beauty of LLCs and S Corps, they keep it simple, they keep it easy. They're all going to flow through where there is no double taxation. So there are ways that the C corporation can make sense, but I see more often than not people doing that the wrong way and find themselves in double taxation situations. So be careful, make sure your accountant and your CPA are walking you through that if you go the C Corp route.
There's a question from Brittany Freeman. Can you fund a retirement account
We just
from
did
the
that.
profits of the LLC to reduce tax penalties?
Yep.
We just did that one.
Oh, we did? Okay.
It's worth saying again, though. Absolutely. I like it. Let me go through a couple more of these as well, just so I keep on track. Cause asset protection is obvious. My least favorite part of the conversation in the slides. I like keeping money in my corner, but it's a sue happy world that we're living in, right? From a fun fact standpoint, there are 76 new lawsuits filed every minute. Top 9 lawsuits, a lot of them are in real estate. Why? A lot of the wealthy invest into real estate. So the more successful you get, the larger that target on your back becomes, right? If we can make sure that you are set up to where you have the privacy, you have the protection, you're giving yourself the tax benefits. Business 101 says you should separate your personal and your business. from a lawsuit standpoint, it's very easy to make sure that the entities are set up accordingly. Okay. I'm going to go business credit, and then I'm going to go big picture. Are there other questions that we want to go over here as well before we get into this, David? I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, let's continue with the slide. I think a lot of these questions will be answered through your slide presentation here.
Let's talk a little business credit, corporate funding, and then we'll go over the layers and the asset protection on the big picture. Everyone has a legal name, a social security number, and a credit score, right? Credit's hard to build, easy to ruin, as we all know. 300 to 850 in the range. The paydex score is a business credit profile that is assigned to your business. It's similar in the sense that it's a numerical number. It is different in the range. Your paydex score ranges from 1 to 100. 80 to 85 would be like you having a 750 to an 800 credit score. So with that being said, here is a visual for everybody. The name, social, FICO. Do that same thing for the business. Business name, EIN, employer identification number. That's the social security number for your business. And if you can build that paydex score, the way that I like to explain this, I am okay with my business credit looking a little bit like a roller coaster, because that means I'm lending money to make more money. I am not okay with my personal credit looking like a roller coaster, because my wife would kill me. But that aside, it's just a good way to go about your business in keeping yourself organized. If you can use business credit, let the business pay for itself, and then pay yourself from there, you're keeping the liability safe. Oftentimes interest rates are lower. It's easy to build up larger lines of credit, but you're not intermingling your finances between the personal and the business. Okay. An example I like to give in the 10 years I've been doing this and talking business credit, I'm yet to have an entrepreneur that says, Tommy, I sure wish I didn't build business credit. Having additional lines of credit to build and grow my business sucks. That's yet to happen, right? If you can build up the additional options from a funding standpoint, it's something long-term that is going to benefit you. If when you were 16 years old, someone said, you know, David, you're 16. I'm gonna make sure you have a 750 credit score by the time you turn 18. When you're 16, you're like, all right, I don't, who cares, right?
It's all the same to me at that point.
You turn 18, you get your first credit card, car loan, student loan. That would have been pretty nice to be in that position. I'm going through a study. You'll see it on YouTube that's coming out. My daughter's 1.5. I'm pretty sure I can have an 800 credit score for her by the time she's 4 years old. By the time she's 18, I'm going to help her understand what's been done. But she's got a choice to make at that point. And it's the same thing with your business credit. She can ruin it. That's her choice. She can make money with it. She can go to college. That's her decision, that what she makes at that point. Hopefully we do a good enough job where it's a good decision, because it'll be a lot of work otherwise. But on the business side, it's the same thing. In 10 years, you're probably going to wish that you had great business credit. 5 years, whatever that looks like. So I want to under promise and over deliver. It takes time to build your business credit. We have a process that walks you through it for 12 months. But if you can do that, and if you can put yourself in that spot to invest with business credit, it's usually something that people obviously don't regret. So moving on, and then I'm happy to open it up for some additional Q&A before we wrap everything up here. But your structure is a living, breathing organism. And the reason I state it that way is things are constantly changing, right? It is not about where you are now. It is where you're going to be in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, right? A lot of times estate planning is a sensitive topic because it's focused more around the death benefit. Oh, well, if you die, you want to make sure that it goes to your kids, your cousins, right? a lot of that conversation's around the death benefit. It's not exciting. No one wants to talk about the death benefit. But an asset protection standpoint, for things you've worked your tail off, that becomes a little bit more exciting. If you can have the privacy, if you can have the protection and the peace of mind of the long-term benefit, that starts to become a little bit more exciting. So I want to walk you through some of my situation. It's easier if I just help you understand what I use some of these things for, and then you can start to tailor it to your situation.
Tommy, if you don't mind, I just want to tell people they should be taking a picture of this.
Please do. Please do.
You guys should be taking a picture of this screen right now. Whether you are a seasoned entrepreneur or not. This is a perfect diagram to keep you focused on the directions, the next steps that you should be taking.
I sometimes will, we work with a lot of different groups, right? And sometimes this is where people, this is a little bit overwhelming, and they'll back off a little bit. You don't have to do all of this tomorrow.
No.
A lot of you, people that have the vision boards, you usually have the cars, the vacations, the houses. Take a picture. What does your business look like? Right? You're not getting to the cars, the vacations, and all these other things if you can't envision what your business is going to be. Right? Multiple streams of income is a beautiful thing, and you see it preached on YouTube University all over the place. But what does that really look like from a business structure standpoint? I owned real estate before I had my daughter. A lot of my conversations are around very family oriented, as I'm sure you can tell. And when I had real estate, I'm young. I'm talking to people about estate plans. I'm talking to people about asset protection. I'll worry about that a little bit later. Having my daughter was so eye-opening in the sense that if something happened to me, I have worked very hard for a long time at this point. I want to make sure that the state doesn't step in and decide where my wealth goes, decides where my legacy goes, decide where probate costs end up going. I want to make those decisions. So what I have, Delaware, Nevada, and Wyoming are what are considered corporate haven states. There are additional privacies and protections in those 3 states that make sure your information stays private. So the trust, the will, the living will, the power of attorney, I have that from a long-term standpoint. It's recommended every 3 to 5 years or a major life change, you go in and keep those updated. If you have a trust and a will, when was the last time you updated it? If you're thinking, oh gosh, I think it might be 10 years, I'm assuming a couple things have changed, right? 3 to 5 years, have your attorney look at those and have those things updated. But my holding company is out of Wyoming. I do that for a lot of our clients as well. It saves you a little bit of money. It also has the same privacy. The holding company I do not use for anything. It is for privacy. It is for protection. However, my holding company will then own my other subsidiary entities. Thank you. My holding companies will own the subsidiary entities. So a consulting LLC, crypto accounts, stock accounts. One thing I really like to focus on here, though, is the active versus the passive income. The amount of times I have been asked, Tommy, can I just run all my real estate under one LLC? You can do whatever you want. I don't recommend that. And the reason for it is 2 things. Number 1, the liabilities are different. Number 2, the taxes are different. Remember, I'm talking to you as an investor, as an entrepreneur. My mind works more in a savings standpoint from taxes than it does asset protection, even though they're equally as important. If I have active income or passive ordinary income, wholesale, fix and flip, in and out of a deal less than 12 months, that tax rate's 10 to 37%. That's where I want to take my deductions to lower my points. Long-term portfolios, long-term rentals, land deals maybe you're holding on to as opposed to flipping, that tax rate 0 to 20%. stocks, crypto, if I'm in and out of a trade, or if it's a long-term hold. If you really simplify it, businesses are pretty similar, and the decisions you're making are going to be impacted from a tax standpoint. So for those of you that have multiple streams of income, those of you that are already structured, we're here to help. We agreed with Dan and David that we were going to offer to everybody a free consultation. So 45 minutes to an hour. I've got a big team of people out here, so I know we got a big group in here, but we should be able to handle it. Go ahead and scan this QR code. We're already booked for the rest of the week, so you will have to click next month and book something for next month. But 45 minutes to an hour. If you need help getting structured, we're here to help. There's discounted rates on all LLCs, all S corps. You have to pay the hard cost. I like you guys, but not that much. You'll have to pay the state fees and the filing fees that you would have to pay regardless. But we will draft and legally prepare that documentation without you having to pay $1,500 to go to an attorney. If you need help on business credit, we're here to help. We got a full team of accountants and CPAs, estate planning. But if you're already structured and you just want to review, it's no catch on the free consultation. It truly is a free 45-minute to hour strategy session.
That's awesome. I don't even realize, I don't even think everyone here realizes what you can get done in 45 minutes and what you can review. So, I mean, if you are an established individual or a new individual, you know, these are all things that you need to take advantage of and that would not normally be available to you.
Yeah, I see. I mean, this is Charlene says, will you tailor an operating agreement, articles? We do not do an LLC. When you set up an entity, you've got a couple options. You can set it up yourself, pay the state fee, filing fee, and not do anything with those documents that Charlene mentions. You can hire an attorney that obviously can end up being expensive. Where we have really, where people just want to work with us is we've done over 100,000 entities. We are not going to send you out a state fee entity. We want to do the operating agreement for the business you're running. We want to make sure the articles of incorporation, A to Z, everything is drafted, legally prepared, structured to your needs at a discounted cost. Robert, you're already structured. If you want it reviewed, great. If you feel like you are totally taken care of, that's fine. That's totally fine as well.
Guys, take a picture of this, please, because we're going to take this down because we're going to start going to the full screen. I'll give you a second or two to take a picture of this. Plus, I'm going to be sending out an email out with the link as well, in case you guys missed it. That email will probably go out tomorrow sometime, or maybe even tonight. But having said that, Tommy, can you give me back controls if you don't mind?
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
Okay. So guys, I just, you know, Tommy's willing to take a couple of questions because, you know, we passed the hour already. But if you don't mind, guys, you have any questions?
Let me, before we go there, I just have one question that someone asked, and it's a good question because I commonly get asked this question a lot. And it's about the Delaware Corporation, right? Everyone knows in Delaware, it's supposed to be better and cheaper and there's more loopholes available. Could you touch on that one?
Yeah, they started it. It's called the Delaware Corporations Act, and it is a phenomenal question. Delaware started this. It was primarily made for privacy and protection. Nevada and Wyoming have also embraced it. So a lot of people think that when you set these up, you're avoiding additional taxes. That is not the case. You can do it for a little bit. Once you get flagged, you're paying back taxes. You're supposed to pay tax where you are located or where you live 6 months and a day out of the year. So I live in Utah. I have a Wyoming entity, but it is for privacy and protection. I am not saving any money from a tax standpoint by having those entities in place.
So let me ask you another question based on that, because this is the next question that people ask. So looking at it in that standpoint, what if the corporation is incorporated in Delaware?
What if the incorporation?
The corporation it's incorporated in Delaware. Do I have the benefit of saving those taxes, or do I have to live there?
You got to live there.
Gotta live there.
And that's where, I like the way Dan said, I don't care who's in office, they're not affecting my financial picture. When Trump and Hillary ran against each other, when I was watching the debate,
I know exactly what you're gonna say.
they're going back and forth. Oh yeah, what about your Delaware Corp? What about your Delaware Corp? What about they're talking about the same thing. They're utilizing the same strategy. Now, for those larger corporations, oh, I see what you're saying. If you have a headquarter and if you're incorporated, then yes, there's no state income tax in all three of those states. And they're arguing about the exact same thing, throwing each other under the bus. And you don't live in Delaware. You don't live in Delaware. So it's for privacy and protection, but the big corporations will try and get away with avoiding that additional state tax.
All right, perfect. I would like to use a revocable trust on my own LLCs and properties, etc., and need help structuring it.
It's a smart way to do it. We usually recommend the revocable trust. Irrevocable trusts tend to get people in trouble, we've noticed. But there's land trusts, there's irrevocable trusts, there's a lot of different ways, family trusts. Everyone's situation is different. Having your entities within that irrevocable trust is a phenomenal way to do it. And of course we can. That's what we're here for. That's what we do.
Okay. Another one. I'm house hacking and purchased a property under my name. Can I put it under LLC when I move and rent the entire house out?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great way to have that protection. You can quit claim deed it into the LLC. The one thing I will tell you to be cautious of is when you quit claim deed that property, make sure you talk to your lender, because some lenders, all they see is the change of ownership from your personal to your business, and it potentially affects your 1031 exchange options. So be careful from a tax standpoint, but it's an excellent asset protection strategy.
Okay, this one comes from Travis. Do I need contractors to fill out a 1099 to write off their work? And how do I make contractors fill it out?
Phenomenal question. This is a hot topic because they just changed it to where anything over $600, you're supposed to have them fill out a 1099. So the long answer short, if you're hiring labor that's over $600, have them fill out a 1099. If Dan says to me, I'm not doing it, I'm going to say, I'll go work with someone else. Keep this in mind. I'm a real estate investor and I've got a lot of work coming your way. I know someone's going to take it. You got to play hardball at that point.
Guys, if you don't mind, I could answer that. I want to answer that second part of that question. I show up to the job site with the 1099 form and with the check all on the same clipboard. So the check is the carrot. You don't sign this, you don't get the check. Right? So you'd be surprised. I used to argue, and they used to want to try to convince me not why they don't have to sign it. But then I'd say, okay, well, let me speak to my accountant and then let me take back the check. Well, can I get the check? I said, I can give you the check because I've got to speak to my accountant first. I didn't have to speak to my accountant, but you'd be surprised how fast they're going to sign that form now.
For sure. Because
they want that check. You have the check. You're showing them the check. It's on the same clipboard as a 1099.
I love that.
Eric Bellamy's looking at you like, yep, I know all about this one already. We have another one from Kenny. For a beginning business, how do you build your credit?
Yeah, great question. So a lot of times when we're coming through, when we build up business credit, Dun & Bradstreet is the first step. We need a DUNS number in order to do anything. Building business credit is a process. It is not rocket science. So once we get that DUNS number, we take you through and we get you some starter accounts, gas card, Home Depot, Lowe's, apparel, stuff that you don't want. But then over the next 3 to 4 months, we try and get you accounts that report monthly instead of quarterly or annually. Once we get through the starter phase, we can now get larger business credit cards. And once we establish a well enough paydex score, now we can actually get some actual lines of credit. Once again, it's a process, it takes time. But last month we got over $3 million in business credit for our clients. It's been, when things happen with the economy, when COVID happened, banks started lending less to individuals, more to businesses. The lines of credit, if an entrepreneur understood the power of having good personal credit and good business credit, I will talk to people in business 20, 30 years that said, this would have been really nice to know 20, 30 years ago. So if you're going to do it, it's nice to do it right from the start, but building business credit's an excellent tool.
Yeah, it's funny how things have changed in so many different perspectives. This one comes from Kenny again. My first company is located in Pennsylvania. I want to open an office in New York City. What's the process?
You're picking two tough states, my man. I would say move to
I was thinking the same exact thing.
move to Florida. Yeah, I mean, we can set up another entity for you in North Carolina, or at geez Louise, New York. I don't even want to say New York, but we can, a lot of times what we'll do is we'll set up a holding company for you out of Wyoming. It saves you a little bit of money. We can do Nevada or Delaware, whatever you want to do, but we'll have that Wyoming entity own the New York entity. No privacy in New York or Pennsylvania. Let's make sure you have the privacy so they don't see where you are, where you live, what your name is.
Okay. This one comes from Noel. As a realtor in Florida, should I open my own LLC in Florida? Second part. Also, I have been investing in a lot of video production for my own real estate, YouTube videos. Because of that, I realized I'm getting better and better at it and could possibly start charging other realtors or random companies for marketing videos. So, hold on. So should I make a different LLC for one video production and one for real estate?
It's a 10-part question. It's a phenomenal one. I would recommend separating those. Yes. Why? Your liabilities are separate. If someone doesn't like your marketing, you don't want them coming after your real estate and vice versa. Congratulations. It's great. I also would want to be able to write off the video equipment for wherever it makes more sense for me, right? I got this light and this camera and all this stupid stuff shining on me so I don't look like I'm dead in front of all of you. But I'm writing all that off. It's all business related, but make sure you do it on either your real estate or the media or whatever makes more sense at the end of the year. So you don't have to, you can put it all under one. I personally would make sure to separate those two avenues.
So this is a great question that we haven't actually touched on yet. And it's about the cost of this, right? This comes from Robert. Basically, thank you for the consultation, but what is all of this cost?
Robert said brass tacks. Hit it. Hit me with it.
Before you even mention it,
There's just so many different avenues of
guys,
cost
I want
factors.
to tell you something. I've actually vetted these guys. These guys are not only recommended by me, but why don't you tell them some of the people who are recommending you guys that are huge, like huge on social media?
I mean, we've got over 300 different affiliate partners. We talk to over 400 new clients a day. I will always make time for everybody. That's how this business started. That's how this business will end. Bradley, Pace Morby, Jamil Damji. I could go on and on with the names of the
Right.
trusted individuals.
So what I want to tell you guys is, is it possible for you to put up that sheet that you sent me with the cost?
If I could find it.
Yeah, because if I try doing that now, I'll screw things up. But guys,
I don't have my assistant or my marketing team here, so I probably can't do
okay.
anything.
Well, I can tell you, when you guys call up and you get that consultation, it is so minimal.
Yeah,
in
it's so
comparison to
affordable.
what I've paid. Now, and when I asked Steve about it, Steve is not on here. His immediate response was, it's the volume. Right? Because I couldn't understand how it was that inexpensive. So guys, the cost is relatively nothing in comparison to what you're going to save in taxes, aggravation, and time.
And one thing I'll add as well, every state is different. So depending on who wants a holding company, who wants a standalone entity, as I mentioned earlier, we are not charging you $1,500 like you're going to an attorney, but I'm not doing it for you for free. And by free, what I mean is you have to pay your state and your filing fees regardless. I'm not paying them for you. So from an entity standpoint, there are huge discounted rates. There's still legal preparation. You will have to pay the state, the filing, and the admin costs of what it takes for us to put everything together. The business credit development and the tax, someone on this call has 10 entities and someone they're going to set up their first entity. Those two people are paying two different amounts from a tax standpoint because that's two totally different amounts of work. But there are discounted rates across the board. And from a volume standpoint, we set up over 2,000 entities a month. We file, over 5,000 tax returns a year. I've got 40 accountants and CPAs. I've got multiple attorneys. We've got a pretty smooth process where we are really pumping volume out, and that allows us to give discounts to you guys.
Guys, one more question, last question. Let's pick a good one, David.
I'm actually going through so much chat on this.
I could see it.
It's awesome, but it's difficult for me to get that.
Hey, is that Daniel Quiones? Is that you from Sub 2? Is that Daniel Quiones, the legendary Daniel Quiones that is with Pace?
No.
But he is legendary.
Okay, hey, it must come with the name then, because I know a legendary Daniel Quiones as well.
Does anyone have a question that wants to come on and ask that specific question?
Cindy, I just want to, Cindy, thank you so much. So Cindy says Dan is probably the best person ever to vet.
That is the truth.
Experience,
I'm telling you.
recommendations of Tommy alone should be enough to go with him and his company. I just set up my appointment with them. Thanks, Dan and Dave. Thank you, Cindy. I appreciate that vote of confidence.
Cindy knows us very, very, very well. She's one of the she's our personal friend and business associate. So she knows how well and how stringent my brother is. I don't even know if I could be able to rent one of my own apartments from my brother. How's that?
At one point, I thought I was going to have to invite him over for like a weekend stay at my house, see the family or something. I'm like, what?
There's a question. They have their hands up. Kyle, go first.
Kyle,
quickly.
come on. Come on. Let's
Just
see.
make it quick, question, if you don't mind.
Everything as usual. My question is virtual addresses. How do you guys, what do you feel about virtual addresses? Because I know if you want to use different states, you can use a virtual address to get that, I guess, entity under that state. But when you do, I guess, go on the website, they can give you all the information really back to your personal address. So I just want to know what you guys feel about that.
You're hired. Move to Utah. We need you. We have virtual addresses, registered agents in all 50 states. No matter where you're located, what I preach to you is privacy and protection. I've got virtual addresses in all 50 states that we can utilize. Not a problem at all. A lot of times I absolutely recommend them. Privacy and protection is huge, especially in real estate. It has to be a physical address. I do have physical registered agents in all those 50 states. But yes, I love them. We use them every day, all day long, and we can provide those for you in all 50 states. Great question. Thank you.
Ania James, what's your question? Come and show your camera.
So thank you for allowing us to be on your platform this evening. I truly appreciate it. And I'm always here. But I have a question, Tommy. So I'm in real estate, a real estate investor, just getting my feet wet. I have my personal home in New Jersey, 2 investment properties in Detroit, Flint, Michigan, and I do have my LLC. I just feel like I'm all over the place, and I booked the consultation, but I'm running into this problem when I'm trying to get funding for business credit. Like when I say I'm real estate, it's kind of like they frown on it. Why is that? And can you kind of speak or touch on that?
Yeah, great question. Thank you for this. I really appreciate this quite a bit, actually. When everyone, keep in mind, I don't know how many people, there's 95 people on here. I don't know how many people are going to schedule a free call, but I'm still paying these guys, right? So please make sure you show up for the call. Please make sure you show up prepared. And when I say prepared, what I mean by that is, if you already have things in place, come into the call and help us understand, hey, Tommy, I've got X, Y, and Z. I'm a beginner. I'm a seasoned vet. This call is for you. We're doing it for free. Take the most out of it that you possibly can. Come into that call with what you already have in place. Investing in name, real estate in name. Oftentimes businesses don't love that, but keep this in mind. Not all banks are created equal. Someone's pulling the puppet strings and they say, I don't want to lend to real estate right now. I don't want to lend to manufacturing companies right now. I don't want to lend to individuals right now. So we have a team of credit advisors. I've got one in particular, 40 years in the banking industry. And what they do is they make sure that the relationships they have with banks and lenders is going to be best for your type of business where you're located. So it's a huge advantage. And if you just go to the same credit union every day and you're like, I need some money for real estate, you may be going to the same one that their boss just said, we're done with real estate deals. Feds just raised the rates, right? So it depends on the bank. It depends on the way you're structured. It depends on how your business is named. We are happy to break those things down for you.
Last question.
Hold on. So guys, listen to what Tommy just said, right? This call is not for him. This call is for you. Many of you will not utilize this opportunity because of something I call stage fright, right? You're scared of the questions you may ask that you think are useless, or you may not have the right questions. And I'm going to tell you that stage fright is not real. Okay, stage fright comes from lack of preparation. So if you're going to book a consultation, make it the best consultation that you can by being the best prepared you can possibly be. Okay? Think of everything you would like to ask someone that you didn't have the means to before, and put that on paper and ask those questions. You know, the best consultation you can utilize is the one that you never get to the last question, because which means that you were in depth in the questions you were asking. So make sure you utilize the pen and paper before you get on to that call.
Guys, failure to prepare is preparing to fail. I've said it 1,000 times. Mr. Holmes, last question. You're the man. Bring it on.
Appreciate it. This is kind of tangential, but it's related to all of this. Told you I'm an educator here in Texas. I sunk money into getting this property to rehab in Waco. The numbers look really good, but I was concerned about gap funding in the event that I need it. Where should I look to for gap funding if there's anything that goes a little bit above my budget with the hard money lender that I used?
Do you guys have, David or Daniel, do you have a recommendation or a area?
We do a couple different ways. My brother and I, we have home equity lines. We love home equity lines because we use that as a bridge loan back to the company.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you're in a position to use a home equity line. We also, as you become more seasoned, people throw money at you, and it's easier to get private money loans. But you know, the alternative is to go back and if you're not in that situation, you know, my brother and I have also maxed out our credit cards, and then we go out and then apply for new credit cards, and then do a transfer of a balance at 3% for 6 months, right? If you do that twice a year, then it's 6% you're paying, right? It's still less than if you go to the hard money lender. There's so many different creative ways to do that. Now, remember, I don't recommend people use a home equity line, especially the first time around, because it's your personal home. It's where, your kids are. It's where your family lives, right? We didn't do that until we probably did about 20 to 30 flips when we felt really, really comfortable with our skills that we've developed. A home equity line should never be used as an investment tool unless you're skilled at it and you've proven yourself to be skilled at it. And it should be used like a tool, right? The way a carpenter has, a hammer and a measuring tape, a pencil, right? So we use our home equity lines as tools, and we normally don't, they're usually paid off within 6 months, right? Same thing with our credit cards. Now, everything I just told you to do, a conservative investor will tell you you're nuts. I'm nuts. I could only tell you what's worked for us, but we're very conservative. We don't overspend. We know how to tighten our belts, and we know how to live below our means.
Okay.
Holmes, let me tell you this as well. Building where the question is so awesome, and here's the reality is, if there is money to be made, there is money to be found.
That's right.
Someone will lend you that money if there is money to be made, right? So from this point moving forward, in 5 years, 10 years, you're not going to be in that same position. Build up your business credit, build up your personal credit. The best time to build credit and to get funding is when you do not need it, right? A lot of people say, oh, I'm not quite there yet. I'll wait till I get my properties. I'll wait till I get my first deal. I've heard it so many times, and it's the same person that calls me back that says, Tommy, I thought you said you could give me business credit the next week. It's not how it works, right? But if there is money to be made, there's money to be found. So set yourself up for the long term. It sounds like you've got a cool deal on your belt, but don't be in this same spot 3 years, 5 years, based off the way you asked it. I doubt you will.
And I just got to say something to what Tom, to reiterate what he just said and fortify it. When you need money, nobody wants to lend you money. When you don't need it, everybody's throwing it at you.
Yeah.
So what Tommy just said is build your credit and build those lines of credit when you don't need it. So it's there for when you do.
Perfect.
Dan, let's just do one more question. We got Kenny on the line here with his hand up. So come on, Kenny.
Thank you very
This will
much.
be the last one because Tommy's going to kill me.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So I have a friend that has a two-family house in actually Bronzeville in Brooklyn going through pre-foreclosure. She wants to sell me the house on contract for $150,000. And then there's a loan about $200,000 on the house. So there's actually one lien on the house. The house is valued at $850,000. What would be the best way to actually get this house financed?
Is she willing to let you give her the 150 and then subject to, in other words, where the loan will stay in her name and you just continue to pay it?
That was an option. We actually spoke about this yesterday. She just wants the cash to leave, but I want to be the new owner of the house. So I want to be.
I don't understand what the problem. If it's worth $850, you're going to be a total into it for $350. That's an easy loan. That's not a difficult loan at all.
Yeah.
Tell her to sell it. Hey, tell her to sell it to me.
Yeah.
I was going to say, give him my
I'll tell
number.
you what, Kenny, call me up. You call me up tomorrow and we'll have a conversation, a deeper conversation.
Okay. This is my first house. I am actually looking at this as my first home to keep.
Again,
and it's
call me up tomorrow after 11 and we'll talk about it.
Congrats.
Okay, thank you, Dan.
Congrats.
All right, thank you. Thanks.
Again, guys, I just want to mention something that I wanted to wait until the end of this. And you guys know I don't ever get political or personal on this, but what's happening in our country right now, what just happened in Texas with these kids being shot, is something I think we all need to think about. I don't care what our political stand is on this, but our representatives have to know how we feel about it, and something's got to be done. We can't continue accepting our kids to be killed in an environment that they're supposed to be safe in. There's got to be a meeting of the minds by our political leaders, and you guys need to actually reach out to them, whether it be by email, telephone, and express your opinion, no matter what side of the aisle you happen to be on. This is not acceptable. And I just want to give a shout out and a prayer to all those parents who lost those kids, because I personally, a parent of 4, do not understand how they must be feeling. And I don't know how I would be able to bear that feeling if that had happened to one of my kids. So let's think about those parents tonight, and send a prayer to them all. Tommy, I want to thank you for being here. I truly, truly appreciate you having taken out the time, and I know it's more than an hour. And for all of my guests that are on here tonight, if Tommy calls me tomorrow and tells me he doesn't have at least 60 people who signed up, I'm going to be extremely disappointed in you all, because that means that means that you're all here for my brother and I to entertain you instead of us educating you. Tommy, you want to close it out?
Think bigger. It's not about what you make, it's what you keep, right? If I've been doing this for 10 years, you can do it. I am not the sharpest tool in the shed. I work hard. I'm a credit to my profession, and I look forward to working with everyone. I hope we can help everyone. Thank you, David. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate you guys very much. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Tom, that was amazing information tonight. We really appreciate it.
And I am humbled that you actually took the time out to be here. Really, really humbled by it. Good night, everyone. Dan Borrero, USA Land Ventures. Dan, Dave, and Tommy, all 3 of us, thank you. I'm going to be sending you the link again to Tommy's where you could actually schedule that in case you didn't get the picture of it. And remember, we'll be posting this video as well. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye, everybody. Take care. Good night.
Thank you, guys. Good night.
Night.